Hi, Alex. How are you today?
Good. How are you? Good to see you, Jody.
Good to see you too.
We're doing a little role reversal today.
That's right. We're actually going to put you on the hot seat today.
We're chuckling. I know. I'm in the hot seat and we're chuckling because we've just had technological nightmare for 25 minutes and it's actually working. So this is great.
Fingers crossed. It continues for us this morning.
That's exactly. Exactly. So Jody, tell us why you're here today.
So I'm actually here today, Alex, to interview you, the man behind the Local Grit podcast. Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm excited.
That's
I have my
fantastic.
coffee from down the street.
All right. So let's get into your entrepreneurial journey first, because I don't know if all your listeners actually know how long you've been an entrepreneur for and where you got started. So introduce us to Footprints Music and your digital Main Street journey and what led you to this podcast. But let's start with Footprints. When'd you start? How'd you get started?
Yeah. So in 2008, there was the big financial crisis that happened, and I worked as a manager and guitar instructor at Walters Music in Toronto. And the boss came in and he said, "We're closing up shop in April." So I had like 3 months. I had a 2-year-old daughter, and this was our sole income, and it was quite a terrifying moment. Uh, as I was boxing up, closing the store, though, I had an epiphany that I could do this on my own. And it was literally like a light bulb. The whole world did get brighter. It was a very visceral moment, and it was exciting. And at the time, people were against it. They're like, "This is financial crisis time. This is a terrible time to start a business." But I knew it was something that we could do right. So my wife and I, Rachel, started it in we October of 2009. I took my 13 students that I had from Footprints, guitar students. And at first we had all these huge designs to have this amazing school in this, you know, 4,000 square foot place, and we're looking at things and come we the first moment we had our heads hitting against the wall was because a lot of landlords didn't want a music school because they thought it was noisy. And so it was
Mm.
something that I had never thought of. And so we tried to think of ways to do it. And had that plan gone through, we would have been bankrupt in about 5 months. So it was actually perfect. And we just ended up renting a 2-bedroom apartment over a retail store. And I just started with 13 students. And then I became very interested in marketing. When you open a business, as many business owners know, all of your friends know all the answers that they have to businesses and they know how you should do things. And so I got a lot of advice. A lot of it was bad. And so you have to kind of about things on your own
Mm.
and know your business and know what works. Now, the thing is that I opened in an area that had a music school. So I
Mm.
went somewhere that had proven, and the only reason why that music school failed was just because the landlord had tripled the rent on the owner, and the owner didn't think it was, Walters didn't think it was worth it. So
Mm.
I knew that I had the clients. I knew that I was in the right area. It was at Yonge and Eglinton in Toronto, and we
Okay.
lived just blocks away. So we lived, worked, and played all in a little bubble in Yonge and Eglinton where we started raising our kids. And so I read huge amounts of business books. I probably read over 250 business books, and I followed
Right.
all the podcasts that all the people follow. And we grew rapidly and outgrew the first space within 4 years. And then we moved down the street because we wanted to stay in the neighborhood. It was important. And we stayed there, grew to 200 students and stayed around 200 for for the time. And then we moved in 2016, we moved to Hamilton. And then in 2019, we had the genius idea to open in Hamilton, and Lock Street was all ripped up, for those who remember. And
Hmm.
so the ink was literally wet on the lease, and we couldn't open for 4 months. And then COVID happened. So we had to struggle through that, and we we fought our way through a lot of problems, and here we are now. We did close the school in Toronto because going back and forth was starting to become quite tiresome for me and for
Hmm.
Rachel. And so now we just have footprints um, in Hamilton now. So that's kind of a rough gauge of what's happened.
Perfect. So let's go back to your COVID days just for a second because you're a brick and mortar. You have a physical location on Lock Street and you're central. Um, how did you, like many other hundreds of thousands of business owners, how did you adjust during a time when you couldn't connect with your music students face to face?
So we were actually I networked with a lot of American companies,
Hmm.
music schools, and they had the COVID announcement a week before us, and it was March
Oh.
break when Doug announced it for Ontario businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that week of March break, I switched I mean, somewhat technologically advanced. It's helped me a lot.
Hmm.
But I moved everything over to Zoom classes, and we trained every one of our teachers. We had 11 teachers in Toronto at that time, and we had
Hmm.
teachers here in Hamilton. And we just transferred everything over and started lessons on the Monday after March break
Hmm.
through Zoom. And it was okay. I'll be honest,
Hmm.
like our whole philosophy, there were I've done remote lessons before, and there are schools who had chosen to just do remote, but it wasn't our philosophy. It did go against our you have to be with the person. There's a connection that you feel with your student that you
Hmm.
don't feel online. And there were
That's so true.
times where I would go and I would go to touch the screen because I was trying to fix their finger, and so there was an adjustment. It was different.
Hmm.
The biggest detriment was really that we had a huge 5 to 7 year old growth cycle in
Hmm.
September. Everyone, so that's our busiest time for music
Hmm.
schools. We had 50 to 70 5 to 7 year olds, and COVID killed that pipeline, which was
Oh man.
very. I never got it back. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people, it wasn't just business, it killed future business. And the thing
Hmm.
is that it's because parents had to reevaluate. I can't have my 5 year old online while I'm over here trying to do work. And so
Hmm.
this isn't really working. And so it really wasn't working for the length of time. Sadly, music schools are one of the businesses that were hit the hardest. I literally had the police go to my location in Toronto and be quite Gestapo about how they went in and spoke to one of my teachers who
Oh,
was there
wow.
by herself giving a book to one student, and
Hmm.
they like went through the files anyway. So it was like and then that scared me to break any rule because I was so nervous. So it was tough being closed for 2 years. The relief came from the government. It was helpful, but we're still in debt because of that, which is
Hmm.
challenging.
It's very challenging. COVID and the pandemic and the ups and downs, the waves of it had a big impact on a lot of our small business owners and a lot of our brick and mortar. You also mentioned the construction that you originally entered into on Lock Street. And for those of you who live in Hamilton, you know that there's a lot of construction that happens on an ongoing basis that directly impacts the availability of access to our stores in some of our major neighborhoods. So my question related to those two big challenges or barriers that you managed and you overcame, if another barrier like one of those were to happen again, you were notified that your street would be dug up again and access to your storefront would be impacted, or there was fingers crossed, not another pandemic, but a concept that's that large and global that might impact your business. What's a piece of advice that you would give to business owners today from the lessons you've learned?
I would close the business and reopen. I would because it was just too financially straining.
Okay.
The thing is that you always had that hope, right? Like at
Hmm.
first, it was supposed to be two closed for 2 weeks, and for
Hmm.
music school specifically, and there were other service-based industries. Like there were things that just didn't make sense. You could get a tattoo, but you couldn't have a private lesson, even though we
Right.
followed all of the rules.
Right.
And the thing is, like, I know hindsight's always 2020, and I know but Canada and Ontario were a little bit more stringent and a little bit
Hmm.
harder on opening than the rest of the world, which I found challenging. So I would just close and reopen because it would have been less expensive.
I think that's really
But
important
it's
for
tough.
business
Again,
owners to
if
hear.
people are telling you it's 2 weeks,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, for something as big as that, I think I would have also, with the construction, renegotiated with, I mean, I'm pretty good at negotiating and I didn't really think about it at the time, but with the construction, I would have renegotiated to not start until the construction's done
There.
because no one could literally walk on the street.
Hmm.
It's not that it was just awkward and there was no parking. Literally, you could not walk the street because every day they changed a different section of the street. So in that case, I should have renegotiated what was going on. Again, you're told that it's only going to
Mm.
be so
Yes.
long, and it was actually a month and a half longer than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
So there's a balance between hope and reality,
Hmm.
and you need to find that point. And that's where it becomes challenging as a business owner.
It's really hard when you're given this external information and you have no control over the timelines, you have no control over the outcomes of it or if it's disruptive. But I think that what those two specific scenarios have taught you and many other business owners around you is that you can't get too complacent, to be honest with you. You accept and you enjoy the success that you've had. You want to keep building your business using the marketing strategies that are working, but always having, say, a plan B. And the plan B, I know it's a thorn in the entrepreneur side, but realistically, when you're wearing all the hats, you need to have a plan A, B, C, D, E, and F. And especially working in a brick and
Yeah.
mortar environment where you do face-to-face clients, it's understanding what your next steps would be. And a realistic choice, like you just presented, is temporarily closing you ha- until you have access to your resources again. So I think that that message is really, really
Mhm.
important for people to hear from a experienced business owner who's been in business for decades. So that's awesome. Um, I'd really like to touch upon
Mhm.
your introduction into the digital Main Street era as well, because I think that really helps people understand how you leveled up with your digital marketing expertise. So, do you want to tell your backstory and introduce that now?
Yep. Yeah, sure. So during COVID in 2021, we were using Digital Main Street, and they
Mhm.
had this program, which is you get a digital service squad member, and they help you with your digital marketing and come up with ideas. And it's always valuable to have an outside opinion
Mhm.
about your business and how it looks from because when you're in it, it's sometimes difficult to see that. Same with your personality, right? Like therapy
Mhm.
can see something that you can't see. So we worked with this lovely woman, Julie Prendergast, who was awesome, and she she was like, "I just want to let you know that this is my last session with you guys because I'm moving on." And she moved to, I think, Narcity as some sort of writer. And I
Nice.
jokingly said I should apply for your job. And she's like, "Actually, Alex, you should because you are very skilled."
Mhm.
Anyways, I did. I applied for the job, and I mean, it's funny, not funny, but during the job interviews, my mom died, and
Mm.
I had to had to go to the job interview the day after, she was pronounced dead and do this happy face thing. But I had to do it
Interview.
because we needed, by that time, we needed an income.
Right.
So uh, I got the job, and I have to say that I loved working for it. I helped hundreds of businesses work through digital marketing with tools, and at that time they had the grants that were available that aren't there anymore. And it was really, really a very enlightening experience for me to try and help a lot of people. I do feel that I have a good um, skill of teaching and being patient with people. I mean, that's why I started a school to begin with, is
Mm-hmm.
because I thought I could do it differently than how other teachers teach. And so it was, yeah, so it was really, really good. And then I transitioned to OBIA, which is the Ontario
Mm-hmm.
Business Improvement Area Association, which
Mm-hmm.
for every there's lots of businesses. I don't know if people know this, but there's lots of businesses that have an improvement area or a strip of the
Mm-hmm.
street that is called the BIA, Business Improvement Area. And so I worked with them for Northern Ontario, which was a much different, like when you're
Oh.
dealing with, I was working for Toronto
Mm-hmm.
businesses before with five BIAs. But up north, it's different. Like when you're an hour and a half away from your closest, service area that can help you and give you resources, it was really hard for them, which has you have to change how you do business and
Well.
how you think of it. So I think it gave me a lot of skills that I wanted to do, and I found that I started to love marketing as much as I loved music, which is why I started the music school. So that's how all that came about. And then the programs unfortunately dissolved,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're very small in terms of what they were before. And businesses loved us. They were so
Mm-hmm.
thankful for the help and the leg up. And yeah, for some reason the province decided to close the whole program.
So I know firsthand how impactful the Digital Main Street program was because I ran it also in the Hamilton region when I worked for the city of Hamilton. So
But
I can completely resonate with a lot of the sentiment that you've given here about helping business owners, especially during a very tumultuous time, assisting them with their tech updates, assisting them with grant opportunities, because the business who qualified and who accepted that were so grateful, especially during such a disruptive time. But we built such amazing
yeah,
relationships with these business owners. And to your point about up north, when the resources are not down the street, right? There's even a higher level of appreciation and a deeper relationship that's built within it. And I think that it kind of leveled you up. And now you've transitioned into wanting to educate and bring awareness more to the small businesses within the community. So all of your
yeah,
experiences kind of are lining you up to now be this leader in community engagement for the city of Hamilton.
yeah.
So Alex, now I would love to transition over to talking about your Local Grit podcast. You started it
Yeah.
last year. What inspired you to be like, I'm now going into the podcast world?
So I had the idea in 2021 when I was working at Digital Main Street, but I just never pulled the trigger,
Hmm.
mainly out of fear and not knowing really how to do. Also because I felt like it was another project. I was working at Digital Main Street and running the two locations of Footprints Music, and it was taking a bit of a toll. So I
Hmm.
had to shelve it. But literally, one of my friends that I mentioned before, who I chat with, who owns a music school, he texted me. He's like, "I've just done my 66th episode of my podcast," and I was like
Wow.
so excited for him because he actually did it and went through it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. I'm just gonna do it. And
Hmm.
so I started it in October. My first my first interview was Chris from Democracy, which became quite controversial because then he had to close Democracy.
Right.
Um, and uh, and I just tapped into people who I'd known, like you've been on the podcast before,
Mhm.
and I wanted to bring people who had interesting stories and
Mhm.
to make it mostly about Hamilton
Mhm.
because Hamilton is a very interesting city. I know
Hmm.
it's got the blue collar roots, but
Hmm.
it has an enormous arts culture. It has an enormous music culture. It has it punches above its weight. And
Hmm.
I think the world needs to see that. I remember a Toronto Star article when we moved here in 2016 came out and said Hamilton is probably the most diverse and the best city set up for any economic hardships. Now, I don't know if they
Interesting.
planned on a pandemic, but
So
but
true.
but I just started to see, and what I found interesting was how open people were
Hmm.
to just wanting to be on the show. And I had no followers or anything, but I asked, Susan Zandbergen, who
Hmm.
runs the generator. I just saw her in Democracy and I was like, would you like to be on? And she said yes right away, which I was like, so awesome.
Yeah.
And then I asked uh, Matt Diamante from Hey Tony, who runs a seven-figure business. And I had these huge people, Ryan Moran, who these great entrepreneurs who
Yeah.
all want to be on my show. And I was like, I think people need to hear the stories and I've always wanted to inspire people to open their own business so that they
Hmm.
can take control over their own life, even if it's a
Hmm.
side hustle.
Yep.
It's always been in the back of my mind that it allows you to have a little bit more control. Now,
Hmm.
granted, it's a lot of hard work,
Hmm.
um, but it's the payoff is so, for me anyways, has been phenomenal. I would still run the same thing that I did at the beginning. With the information that I have now, I would have done things a lot differently, but you have to go through the pain in order to get to the other side sometimes. And and you the going through it is important. And when
Hmm.
I see these, marketing experts and gurus who say, five best tips for how to accelerate your business, it's like life doesn't work like that. You do
It
have to
does not.
go through a certain amount of knowing what you don't know
Hmm.
and the stages of how you need to learn and position yourself and so yeah, so that's how local grit came about. And then I was just chatting with a good friend of mine, Sylvie, and she was like, we should do a back end where you do AI voice. So that's where I'm going
Hmm.
in. That's where I'm diving in now, is to help trades with AI voice and AI products to make their life easier and to slow down the gaps between how much they have to do. And what I mean by that
Hmm.
is allowing them to focus on doing the work and fulfilling customers and not having to worry about tech issues and missing phone calls and not being able to help someone online right away because
Hmm.
they can't afford it or they don't want to hire someone. They want to keep it small. And that's what I
That's
love
fair.
about it. I mean, that's one thing that Suzanne said. She's like, I want to keep my business small. I'm like, that's a
Hmm.
great thing. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to strive to be Amazon. You can strive to
Yeah.
just be the best in your neighborhood. Anyways, I rambled on there.
100%. That's okay. You jumped ahead for me. So, you will be coming up to your 1 year anniversary of the Local Grit podcast in October. To just go back to
Yeah.
that for just a second, you name some phenomenal like leaders within our community, phenomenal entrepreneurs and business owners who have put their flagpole in Hamilton in their industry and said, I'm Hamilton born and raised, or I'm Hamilton owned, and very proud of that as part of their business success. Even some of them are global successes, which is amazing. Who do you want?
Yep.
Who's that next amazing business owner that you want on your podcast?
That's a great question. I really want to showcase the underdog businesses.
Hmm.
Um, like there was a gentleman online on I was on Instagram, and he makes out of old fabrics and old things that people have that are important to them. He makes these diary books out of those things as in an artistic way. And those are the things that I think are so creative and so interesting that people could see that this possibly could become a business. And so those
Hmm.
are I've done 20 episodes so far, and now I've decided that this is now I'm in season two,
Okay.
this for this podcast. I think I'm going to do groups of 20.
Okay.
So I want to try and find that entrepreneur who it I don't want to say it's not sexy, but it's
Hmm.
like it's just real. It's just people finding their love and passion that they really enjoy and making it into something that can be shared with others. Um, but I mean, I also enjoy looking at, restaurants right now are a heavily hit industry, and I'm curious to
Hmm.
know how other restaurant owners, as because I've interviewed like three restaurant owners, and how they're pivoting
Hmm.
with a lot of these changes. I know there's a lot of closures of restaurants in Canada.
Yeah.
So if people can share their wisdoms, we can
Hmm.
all and have an abundance. We can all grow and thrive together. And I think that that's what it is. And it's some just my wife Rachel is very much about community, and it's something that I really value with her and in her look. And I like community as well.
Hmm.
And so that's where I'm kind of looking for. Now,
Okay.
most of my interviews have also been from businesses who are in West Hamilton. I
Okay.
have to move over to East Hamilton
Okay.
and meet some of those business owners because I'm very curious what their perspective is like,
Hmm.
and seeing where they can grow. So that's where I'm at now. I mean, people say to me, "Oh, you could grow and just do the whole world," but I the advice that I give businesses when I hear that, and I've had a lot of businesses who are just like, "I want to tap into the U.S. market," is
Hmm.
that you have to be steady at home before you
Hmm.
can tackle something like that because you are literally a teaspoon in the ocean taking out the water when you try to go into the US market.
Very
And
true.
so you need to have all the things in Canada being well known for before you can go and compete there. And it takes a long time. So that's I want to find community-based businesses that are really fun and interesting and
Hmm.
and to share their stories and then just also to share, the war stories of other established businesses.
Hmm. So, Alex, you have a website that people can reach out to, and you also have your Instagram account, I believe, that they can follow and reach out to if they want to be a potential podcast guest. Yes?
Yeah, so it's localgrit.ca. If you're interested in voice AI, there's localgrit.io where you can go to. If you're interested in music lessons, it's footprintsmusic.ca.
I love it.
And everything is just at local grit, pretty much my social handles for Instagram and Facebook. And
Hmm.
you can email me at alex@localgrit.ca if you want to be on the show. It's funny, I've gotten a lot of requests from people to be on the show, which is kind of funny because they're just AI done invites because
Right.
they don't know anything about the show.
Mhm.
And they're never in Hamilton, um, which I found
Right.
quite amusing that people are like, this person would be great for your podcast. And at first it was like, oh, people want to be on my podcast. But then I replied back, oh, that's interesting. Are you in Hamilton? No, I'm in Denver. And I'm like, did you even read or listen to anything about what the podcast was about? So those are the places that you can find me. And yeah, there's no business too small, but there are businesses that are too big.
And not in Hamilton, or at least not
Yeah,
Canadian.
that's right.
You touched upon your local grit AI earlier, and that's where I kind of want to end our session today. You have this passion now for helping our local small business owners, especially our tradespeople, especially our service professionals. And you actually had a really great LinkedIn post earlier this week that's basically giving you this visual that you're, say, a mechanic or you're a plumber and you're elbows deep in grease, or you're doing your work, you're working on your actual customer's job, and your cell phone goes off. And you can't just easily stop what you're doing to answer this call. Yes, you have voicemail set up,
Yeah.
and yes, people can text you, but sometimes the turnaround doesn't work until they talk to a person. And if they can't get a hold of you, They've moved on to the next person on the list to call because they're trying to get a hold of somebody. So this local grit AI is bringing these voice agents specifically to the trades, specifically to service businesses to help make sure they can do their job and not lose any potential work. So I think that's phenomenal. So now I hand it back over to you to kind of
Yeah.
elaborate on it and talk about the future of local grit AI.
Well, it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it at all until I talked to my friend Sylvie, who's just she's just a quiet genius about marketing and things like that. And what I love about it is that AI voice, when I heard demos of what is possible, people are confused and I think they still think it's press one for this, press two for that. And that's not what AI voice is. You can set up, I have set up AI voice for Footprints Music right now that you can go to my website and you can call it and you can ask questions as if you're talking to me because I've given it all the information it needs. It's given what it's like to take a lesson, what's a great age to start, how much lessons cost, all of the questions that people ask for because there's a tool out there called Hotjar, which maybe people don't know, but what it is you can record, quote unquote, record sessions of what users are doing. And what I noticed what a lot of people do on websites is they scroll furiously until something catches their eye. They don't do it in a very systematic way. And I do the same thing. I look for immediately, I want to look for the pricing. Immediately, I know what I want to look for. And so I've found that it was a lot of businesses who set up their websites don't position their websites in the correct way and allow people to get information quickly. It's more about them and not about the customer. And this is where voice AI can really help take a huge bottleneck out of getting customers because the voice AI agent can book a meeting for you or book a service call. The voice AI agent can tell you all about your pricing. One of the clients who I interviewed before I opened, he said that he's a plumber and he doesn't do emergency plumbing. So you can tell the AI agent to say, "Oh, is this an emergency? Here's a good number to call, and I hope you're okay." But then you can also have the agent follow up the next day and make sure that they're okay. So there's a human touch that you can add to this to make a customer experience, even if they're, because I've always thought, even if they aren't your perfect customer and they're not good for you, still try to help them, be an advisor and help them. Like someone who, lives in Oakville, I'm not going to say come and take lessons of footprints for ridiculous of drive length and it's not pragmatic. And so if you can help customers in the best way possible by education and by helping them, this is where voice AI agents and chatbots can be super helpful. If you go to my website again for footprintsmusic.ca, you can look at the chatbot, you can click on how much are lessons, you can type in your question and it will give you an answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable what you can do with it, and it's something that I think can help the trades the most because, as you said, they're on call, and some of these tradespeople have people who are helping them, but a phone call, as important as it is a lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
and if you can somehow allow an AI agent to just help the customer or
Mm-hmm.
hand off to someone and get back in a short amount of time that texts the plumber immediately. A phone service doesn't do that. It's
Mm-hmm.
still it's still analog for lack of a better word. You have to
Right.
call your voice, you have to pick up the message,
Mm-hmm.
that's more time. Like it's all this time being sent. And a customer's time is also important. And
Mm-hmm.
if a business can position themselves that your time is as important as my time, and we can just get business done because you need to work like that, I think it's a
Right.
differentiator for a lot of businesses. I find, sometimes with a lot of websites with SEO, you can kind of game the system almost. And in a
Right.
sense that you could take anyone's logo and put it on anyone else's website, you really can't tell who's who. Whereas the voice
Right.
AI agent gives a much more personal touch. And I
Nice.
think that is the next stage of customer service and the next stage of doing business.
That's phenomenal. Is the Local Grit AI branch of your business live? Can people reach out to you to like work with you to get theirs set up, or when will your services be available?
Yeah, no, I'm live right now, so you can go to Local Great AI and check out the website. If anyone's interested and wants to have a one-on-one, I'm much more about meeting in person and going for coffee than I am on phone calls. You can email me at alex@localgrid.ca, or you can text me at 647-961-6683. And I would love to have a talk in person and learn more about their business.
That's fantastic, Alex. We've learned so much about you in the last little while. We've learned how you came to Hamilton, how you basically have understood the value of being a Hamilton resident and knowing your Hamilton community. You're a big proponent of small business, like support small business in Hamilton, especially downtown Hamilton. And I think that reaching out to those East Hamilton businesses are going to be very valuable over on Ottawa Street and beyond. There's so many wonderful small businesses over in that area of town. Hamilton is bigger than you think that it is. So for those of you
Wow.
who missed the intro, this is Alex Hogcraft, who is the owner of Footprints Music on Lock Street, and he is the host of your Local Grit podcast. Alex, is there anything you would like to say as we sign off for today?
No, but I'm very thankful for you and for all the small businesses who've come on my show. It's been very gratifying and an amazing experience, and I look forward to 40 more seasons.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for supporting our small business community in Hamilton. We appreciate you and we appreciate the awareness that you're bringing to entrepreneurs like us. And that's
Thanks,
it,
Jody.
Alex. We're done.